Tonight on Metronews In Touch, we hear from those that are still stranded after no luck with MIQ's new lobby system. Social media sites are linked to a rise in eating disorders, and for the first time in 4 years, there's a new Whara Palmer Cup champion. Kia ora, I'm Elizabeth Robinson and welcome to In Touch, a current affairs program brought to you by student journalists at the New Zealand Broadcasting School. First up tonight, New Zealand's MIQ new virtual lobby was supposed to be a fairer way for allowing Kiwis to come back home. Lucy Bendell talks to those affected by the random lottery.
Thousands of Kiwis queue in a virtual lobby for their chance to come back to New Zealand.
I keep talking to my daughter and telling her going to see her soon, and now pretty much ran out of answers for her.
The MIQ lottery system randomly selects around 3,000 people each week. One Kiwi father was lucky enough to win a spot to bring his daughter home.
I came in at number 3,200 and I finally waited an hour or so and could book.
However, a spot in MIQ doesn't guarantee you're coming home.
I go to find flights and there's just nothing available.
Finally, he found a route to New Zealand. 5 flights and $12,000 later.
It's your own daughter and you can't do anything. You can't be with her and things, and she's growing up without you and you're just being denied a chance to see her.
The feeling of denial, something many Kiwis are facing.
It should be a case-by-case scenario. If you're more urgent, you have more high of a chance of getting through than other people.
Ashwin was one of the 20,000 not successful for a MIQ spot yesterday.
It's still a race, which it shouldn't be a race. It shouldn't be a pain to get back to your country, your homeland, where you want to return. It shouldn't be like that.
Now, the chance to see family slipping further away.
Everyone's just tired and just wants to come home and see their family and be with their family and their grandparents and parents.
Ashwin's grandparents can't wait as well.
Oh yes, I miss Ashwin so much.
Like many, they're missing out on being with family.
It's tough because there's not enough space. There's not many spaces.
Now, many Kiwis are just waiting for their shot at the gamble next Tuesday. Lucy Bendell, In Touch.
We all know the potential harm of social media, but studies are showing just how devastating it can be. Sites like Instagram are being linked to a rise in eating disorders and body image concerns. Claudia Toxopoulos logs on to find out the truth. Just a warning, this story contains information that may trigger some people.
Kendall Jenner, the world's highest paid and highest ranking Instagram model. Her social media littered with photos of her seemingly perfect life. It's a trend that's catching on. Influencers follow by example, posting their oh-so-glamorous diet and fitness tips. But beneath the screen, there's a much darker side to social media beauty standards.
It's like I was eating hardly anything and tracking like everything I ate and obsessively exercising.
Sarah was 17 when an eating disorder overtook her life. She says a need for validation and a sense of control fueled her behaviour.
It was kind of crazy because for the first time in my life, like I just felt like I went from being invisible to people seeing me for the first time overnight, and like, you know, people that had never talked to me before or like paid any attention to me suddenly were like, oh my god, you look so good.
It's estimated 100,000 Kiwis are battling eating disorders, a number that has only risen in recent years. Studies show a link between social media and increased body image concerns.
There's a movement called healthism, which is around, the fitness industry and being healthy, and yet there's a point where it goes too far, and so people are constantly being bombarded with advertisements and posts around health. And I think as a society we're really starting to misconstrue what is healthy.
You're just bombarded with issues of what your body should look like from such a young age, and literally tips on how to restrict your food and like change your body. It's pretty like irrevocably powerful.
But it can also be a force for good.
Definitely over maybe the last 2 years, it's become a lot better. And I mainly follow people who are all about eating healthy, focusing on saying, food is fuel, making sure they're eating enough calories.
Their advice?
I would say do a social media cleanup in the same way you clean out your bedroom.
I'm following them and following an abundance of good people.
I am very careful about who I follow and think everyone else should be too.
Overall, it's important for everyone to take a social media detox sometimes. Claudia Tox-Payas, In Touch.
Cheaper than a Lime scooter, more convenient than a bus, a new transport sharing scheme is providing safer options for people in social housing. The Otatahi Community Housing Trust is trialling a new system with hopes it improves well-being and the environment. Jessica Swan drove over to check out the initiative.
A chance for social housing residents to take the wheel in a nation-first transport sharing scheme.
The purpose of the initiative is, one, to provide safe, economical vehicles for our tenants, two, to improve the environmental and sustainability of our developments.
Alongside a few free e-bikes, 2 electric vehicles are being subsidised for tenants to use at the Brougham complex in Christchurch. For some, it's a game changer.
It's just so quick and easy, it's cheap. Gosh, you can't even get a Lime scooter for that.
Instead of buying a new car, Peter's buying into the new scheme. That's exactly what management wants.
We're getting lots of developments around town. There's not enough land to go around. If we all have an individual car parking space, we're going to waste a lot of land.
But for most residents, the initiative requires too much change.
We've had a slow uptake, probably better than we expected, but not as good as we hoped.
On the flip side, researchers are thrilled.
It is a really exciting research project because I think it's very meaningful.
Their focus is investigating how mobility impacts well-being.
If people can't get out of their home, if they can't socialise, if they can't get to doctor's appointments, if they can't do their grocery shopping, then all sorts of different things in people's lives start to suffer.
This research could provide solutions.
If we can enable people to get out and to do things more and to reach the amenities that they need, then we can potentially help people to live longer, more fulfilling, happier lives.
This trial is in place for the next 2 years, with researchers carefully monitoring the process. There's hopes by the end of it, they'll be able to use this framework and implement it in similar projects nationwide. Now it's up to residents to buckle up and join the ride. Jessica Swan, In Touch.
A Christchurch exhibition is showcasing young and upcoming artists. Lucy Bendell went along to the Art Stars, where students get the opportunity to put their work on the wall instead of in the bin.
A project saving art from the skip and framing it with a brighter future.
A lot of people have different ways of expressing their creativity. Some people do it through sport, some people obviously do it through art. So to be able to put it on the public stage is one really daunting for them, but it's a huge confidence boost.
100 students from around Christchurch are displaying their art for the first time.
They're at the very start of their career, so it is more affordable for the community to get their hands on their first original.
It's an art exhibition where everyone wins.
The added benefit is if they do sell their artwork, the first piece of artwork that you sell, there's a huge amount of validation that actually it's not just my mum buying the work, or it's not my teacher praising me, it's the general public.
This year's scholarship winner says it's making a world of difference.
It's really good in terms of showing teenagers that what they're doing is really worth something.
Not only is art displayed, but emotions too.
A really good way to take a break from all the other stresses that I have going on. And it's just nice when you sit down, put some music on and just paint whatever comes to you at the time.
An opportunity to express yourself.
It's not so much about saving the artwork now, it's more about giving the students exposure, and the more we talk to the students and build relationships with them, it's a huge impact on their mental health and their confidence.
A colourful opportunity to make a change. Lucy Bendell, In Touch.
Everyone deserves a second chance, even dogs. At Christchurch Bullbreed Rescue, they're giving second chances to bulldogs across the country. I went along to check it out. Friendly, goofy, and a bundle of joy. Not words often associated with bulldogs. But for these abandoned and abused animals, Abby is hoping to shift people's mindsets in an effort to help these dogs find their forever homes.
They have a bad rap with the media, they have a bad rap, in the public because of untruths that people have put out there about them, and people believe the stigma.
The Christchurch City Council says during the last year there's been over 500 attacks, of which 71 dogs were classified as menacing, 15 of which belonging to the bull breed. However, Abby believes it's about the way they're raised and chooses to focus on the love they give.
Seem to, if they have a blockhead and a big body, they're labelled as dangerous and they get put down. But I mean, how dangerous is this guy?
What Abby is doing for these bulldogs is life-saving.
Oh, she's doing an amazing job for these guys because there was nobody else out there to do it. You know, they were being put down left, right and centre because of the stigma that goes with them.
This is Rollo, a very happy boy with a smile from ear to ear who came from not so happy conditions.
Rollo came to us from a pound down south. He's got pressure sores on his legs and his elbows, which for a dog his age usually is because they've either been chained on concrete or locked in a dog box for extended periods of time. If we ever stopped doing what we were doing, these dogs would have nowhere to go. They would be euthanised in pounds, they would never get a second chance.
Abby's son's grown up with bulldogs, so knows just what kind of dogs they are.
They are friendly and cuddly and just a nice asset to the family.
And that seems to be the key message.
They're not scary dogs. You know, if they get to know them, they're lovely dogs. Kind and gentle, more like it's for some other dogs.
They may not be everyone's cup of tea, but for Abby, you couldn't get a better dog. Elizabeth Robinson, In Touch. Playing with your food takes on a whole new meaning with the brand new student-led initiative Food Fight. Jessica Swan headed to a local primary school to see how a card game is paving the way in nutrition education.
Food Fight. A chance to laugh, play, and most importantly, learn about nutrition.
Food Fight is a really awesome initiative because it brings the basics of food into a game.
Designed by high school students for the Year 13 business project, the game breaks down the different elements in commonly eaten foods. The aim, to fill gaps in the school curriculum.
Food Fight is going to solve the lack of resources and knowledge that's available and given to primary school students.
But it doesn't stop there. These students are doing their part. Now they want the government to do the same.
The government could provide more funding for resources for schools.
Nutritionists agree.
And learning about health and basic skills of cooking are not taught, and I think that's a little bit crazy when you think about it.
Without this education, shocking consequences evolve.
In children, nearly 2 out of 3 are overweight or obese, which is pretty alarming given you're in the minority if you're considered a healthy weight.
But school resources aren't enough by themselves. What happens at home, as parents label food good or bad, normalises for children how they should perceive and interact with certain foods. That's where bring home games like Food Fight come in, helping set healthy habits.
It's that exposure, even if it's sort of in the subconscious, of learning about what's in our food.
I think further on, like once they're like shopping for maybe chocolate, they'll be like, oh yo, I seen this on this card, like this is not a good idea, maybe not today, maybe another day.
So their journey continues, one card at a time, to help tamariki win at health across Aotearoa. Jessica Swan, In Touch.
And in sport, for the first time in 4 years, there's a new Whara Palmer Cup champion. With lockdowns and black firm players sitting out, it was a rollercoaster of a final between Canterbury and Wakato. And as Jessica Dermody reports, there was triumph and heartbreak at Rugby Park.
Even COVID Level 3 restrictions and 2 relocations couldn't stop the Waikato Wahine from making the final. Their opponents, Canterbury, hunting for their 5th straight Whara Palmer Cup title after another stellar season. With the heartbreak of 2020 and a 1-point loss still hanging in the air, the visitors' start was wobbly.
Shake that off very early.
And it didn't take long for the reigning champions to set the standard. With a half-time score of 13-3, Canterbury supporters wouldn't be blamed for smelling another title on its way. But after Waikato's relentless attack and a string of yellow cards,
Well, it's been coming, they were warned.
the home side found themselves on the back foot.
Try for Waikato and they go ahead in the final.
But a last-minute effort wasn't enough.
The skipper is just
Canterbury suffering their first loss since 2018, and for the first time in their history, Wakato lifted the Farah Palmer Cup. And as the celebrations continued, there's no doubt a comeback plan is already in place for Canterbury. Jessica Dermody, In Touch.
Each week we highlight one person who is committed to positive change and someone who truly has a heart of gold. This week's Heart of Gold is a 16-year-old athlete who is reaching for the stars. I went down to Ngāpunawai Athletics track to find the future Paralympian. He's a javelin record holder, a Sky Sport Emerging Talent Award winner, and he lives with cerebral palsy hemiplegia. This is Zach Lappin.
I want to represent New Zealand on the world stage in the later half of the 2020s.
For now though, he competes in the Holberg Games within the disabled classification, as his disability affects balance, coordination and muscle control on one side.
It makes me feel happy and like I actually get to compete against my peers, because in most other times I'm always either slower or disadvantaged.
Mitchell works for the Holberg Foundation, so works closely with Zach during the games.
He's incredibly brave. He's definitely not one to die wondering. He'll always tell you exactly how he feels, what he's thinking. He's always got these grand plans that he's sending me about inclusion and how he can get more young kids in the region involved. And I think he's got a big sort of career ahead of him in that space.
But Zach hopes to achieve more than just a medal, hoping other young people will chase their dreams too.
Persevere on and with some dedication and continue to achieve what they need to achieve.
And his family and friends know just how inspiring he is.
Whether he's out there competing against friends or not, he's always out there, cheering them on.
He's a good guy. I like him. He's pretty honest and on the point most of the time. He's pretty organised, which I'm not. And he knows what he's doing.
Zach is very hardworking, very talented. He's very helpful. He was always giving me tips on how to improve.
Hopefully in a couple of years we'll look back and say, yep, I knew that boy. So pretty special to be a part of his journey here.
Zach truly does have one inspiring heart of gold. Elizabeth Robinson, In Touch. And that's all from the In Touch team tonight. For those stories and more, check out our Metronews website, Facebook and Instagram. Join us again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. I'm Elizabeth Robinson, and from all of us, ka kite anō.